All right. Good morning, everybody. We're going to get restarted with the program here. I know you're probably all talking about the challenges that you want to see solved in ag. And don't worry, we will solve every one of them today. So we are going to get restarted here with our program. And yeah. So I hope everybody got their coffee, their Pivot Bio water, and some of their snacks. And one of the things that we're really passionate about.
All right, we're going to get started with a fun activity here, so you don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's not another joke from Andrew. So
My jokes are done.
I put the kibosh on that. No more.
Yes, thank you.
No more.
Thank you, Catherine. Great. We'll just give 1 minute for people to find their seats here.
Start calling names if they don't
Yeah.
sit down. We will start calling you by name if you're not joining us here in your seats.
All right. Great. One quick reminder, if you have a truck at Napa, you better move it. And if it's broken down, I'm sure they can help you fix it. All right, we're going to get started here. So one of the things that we're really passionate about is incorporating fun and art into our conferences. You know, we're talking about big challenges, innovation through collaboration, but we really want to make sure that we're celebrating fun. So our team put together a little activity that they're calling Grand Farm Libs, because we believe that Mad Libs is trademarked, so I don't think we can call it that. So you all filled out some Mad Lib activities here. So we are going to kind of read through some of those. So I think we may have some prompts up here. All right, so I'm going to read these, and Catherine's going to be the Vanna White that pulls these through. So, all right, and adjective, a slimy startup revolutionized farming by building a vertical farm in the middle of the city. They grow giraffes on fuchsia walls and use drones to plant the crops, making urban farming. What do we got? Spunky and efficient. There you go. Spunky and efficient would probably be how I would describe Pivot Bio. So that's great. Let's do one more, Catherine. Okay. I'll be the drawer for this.
Okay, one more. You be the Vanna. Okay,
all right.
We'll switch spots. All right, this is the robot farmer. Here we go. In a small town, a startup developed a beautiful robot named... Oh, your thumb is on.
Sorry.
Chair. Robot named Chair. This robot could splash fields, plant velvet, and even detect stinky pests with its blue color sensors.
Well, there you go. So we like to incorporate fun, so thank you for the events team for that. Next up, we've had the chance and privilege of knowing Chris Abbott for many years at Grand Farm. We've always been impressed with his approach to innovation, especially in his impressive background as an investor involved with many different organizations. So we were excited that he finally got a full-time gig here as the CEO of Pivot Bio. So in his role, he is focused on increasing farmer profitability and resiliency, as well as driving a dramatic improvement of the agriculture supply chain's environmental sustainability by replacing synthetic fertilizers with new crop nutrition technologies. So we'll welcome up Chris to the stage.
Thanks, Andrew. I guess Jornstad said I finally got a real job last night, so that was good reaffirmation. It's nice to see everybody, and thank you for having me. As Andrew said, I've taken a different role in the last year, and so I've come back to Cultivate, which has just been an amazing run. I mean, I remember pre-COVID we were, a third of this size, but taking a slightly different perspective of my role from an investor to an operator, some of the things that we're doing at Pivot, and then ways that we want to catalyze change and partnerships. And frankly, it's a perfect example of why Cultivate Grand Farm and all the work going on this week is something we're excited to be a part of. So as I think about my journey, for those that I haven't had a chance to meet over the years here, I started on the investing side. So my background was in capital markets. Most recently, I ran the new venture business for Continental Grain Company, which was a family holding company. Obviously, many people in this room know Conti by reputation. But we were investing in venture, private equity, and public market businesses, and then trying to bring those groups together to help catalyze change. And one of the investments that we made early on was actually in Bushel here. And so I've got to see the power of this ecosystem evolve over time, which I would argue is second to none. There's places that have tried, Ames, Iowa, where we have a facility. Iowa State's done a phenomenal job, but it's very isolated. It doesn't have the local community, doesn't have local business, doesn't have organizations like this at this scale. And so the work going on here in Fargo is pretty special, and I feel lucky to at least have been a partner in it and watch it from the outside. But really over the last year, I shifted my role and joined one of our portfolio companies at the time at Conti, which is Pivot Bio. And really with the perspective of doing a number of things, but the biggest thing is partnerships and bringing people together. And so when we were given the opportunity to be a sponsor and a participant and participate here, but also a sponsor out at Grand Farm, it was a no-brainer. So I'll tell you a little bit about what we're doing just to get everybody on the same page, but also hopefully get some creative juices flowing. And if you're a startup, or I know a lot of our corporate partners are here, I want to keep the conversation going around partnerships and solving some of these challenges that at least we're focused on in what we think is playing a critical role around fertilizer. So for those that don't know, if I take a step back, what we do at Pivot Bio is we engineer microbes that fix nitrogen. This happens naturally in the world. It's happened essentially forever with corn plants and soil microbes. But with the advent of synthetic fertilizer, with yield gains over the last several decades, microbes can't keep up with that. But now you can take modern gene editing technology and you can do two things that are really important. And this is foundational for us at Pivot. Is number one, you can increase that rate of nitrogen fixation from a microbe. But number two, that microbe essentially ignores its self-awareness and it believes its sole job in life is to fix nitrogen. What does that mean? That means it removes some of that variability that biologics may have because it's tuned to only do one thing. So what we did at Pivot is we created this solution. It started as a liquid fertilizer product. Think of it as that. It was a liquid in furrow applied at planting. It's now a seed treatment. And what happens is that seed coating gets applied. Whatever seed you plant, Pioneer, DeKalb, Channel, Stein, Beck's, any seed you're going to plant is fine by us. But you can see here, this demonstration is pretty powerful. When that seed is planted and that plant starts to germinate, those microbes, which are in dormant state, essentially asleep on that seed coating, get energized by the plant. They know, because they're a native microbe to a corn plant, that that's their host. And so what happens is they start to propagate. When they become awoken, as that plant root system gets established, they get fed through the root exudate. So the sugar that the plant is secreting during photosynthesis is what feeds that microbe. It's not chewing on ammonia applied in the field. It naturally lives with the other microbes in that soil, so it's got a symbiotic relationship. It's not introducing foreign microbes. And then they go to work. And so you can think of each of those little dots as a bunch of microbes living on the root system, and they're a Haber-Bosch plant. And so why that's powerful is these microbes are fixing nitrogen. They're taking N2 out of the air and they're converting it to ammonia. What that means is it doesn't leach, it doesn't volatilize. If you get a wet spring like we're seeing this year, and we've got some interesting pictures to show, it's weatherproof in a sense. And so it's spoon feeding, it's fixing nitrogen, a bunch of mini Haber-Bosch plants fixing nitrogen and delivering them on the root system. Today it's a roughly 40-pound displacement in season, it's probably 35. If you look at fall anhydrous, 50 to 60 this year, fall anhydrous, pick your number, something much higher. But that is how we place ourselves in the world. We are the best source of synthetic nitrogen. We are not all of it, so we work with a number of synthetic technologies, both sources of synthetic as well as stabilizers and other things. But our goal is how do we fix more nitrogen, deliver it on the root system in the most efficient way for the grower. If we look at what does that mean for the ag industry, this is just some data that we did through our product agronomists. So the number that's pretty cool here is almost 700 trials, 46,000 plots. And so we have a number of protocols. We have great university partners. Almost all of them follow our protocols. And it's pretty powerful because we can take that data at a local basis and go sit down with a grower. And I always say it's not our job to tell a grower to use more or less nitrogen. It's our job to bring them the best source of it. If they want to use more, great. If they're short nitrogen. Typically, that's not in the US. You're not short in the same way, for example, that you would be in Brazil, where you have this massive lift. If you look at North Africa, even bigger that needs to happen. But some folks want to actually optimize the amount of nitrogen applied. Or, because it doesn't leach or volatilize, reduce that variability. So you're not seeing the amount of leaching and volatilization that you would with synthetic. Let me give you an example of that. So these are customers that have, pictures from our customers that have actually started to come in over the course of the last week. As everybody knows, we're a bit behind here in some cases, even though we had a great spring in terms of warmth and no snow for some of us that live from the Twin Cities to here. We got just a ton of rain. And so that phenomenon has actually plagued everybody, right? I mean, if you look at the USDA reports, we're in a tough spot in terms of yield potential and nitrogen loss. And so this is really the year where we can be focused on proving a source of nitrogen and then taking that position, and our customers ask us now, help me use fertilizer differently. So they don't even use the word nitrogen. They think now about fertilizer. And so you've heard about some of the diagnostic tools using RNA in tissue samples, which we think are phenomenal. You've seen technology in the world around phosphate technology. We need to bring more of these things together because these challenges are not uncommon. I mean, this happened in 2019. These are almost the same pictures. You take it the last 2 years, they've had a perfect weather pattern for synthetic, but it's a full cycle. And actually, I use my bushel farm app and our plots at Grand Farm. In the grand scheme of things, they're about 30% more moisture year over year, 10% more growing degree days. The problem is it was the volume and the timing of when that water came that really impacted synthetic. And so here are some pictures. Obviously, we're a little bit behind in terms of growth stages of a corn plant up here in North Dakota. We can continue to move south, and you'll see these pictures. The plants are going to get a little bit taller and taller. There's Iowa even. Some of these folks are way behind. But here are the cool pictures. So you can see Indiana on the left and Iowa on the right. And you can already start to see, even at these early growth stages, these plants are greener, they're bigger, and the reason is they're just not short nitrogen. So that weatherproof nature of delivering it on the root system in season is a powerful thing. You can see here, North Carolina, I mean, look at how tall their plants are already. But you can see it's just this very clear visual difference happening this year. This one, Titan put on, not Titan Machinery, Titan Ag down in the south, put this on Twitter. That's Pivot Bio minus 40 pounds versus standard practice. So that's 40 pounds less nitrogen in a plant that's almost 100% taller. So I can't underestimate the power of when you use these technologies to improve efficiency and placement of sources of macro and micronutrients, how important that is. Now we got to test, we got to prove it, and we got to bring more solutions together. Here's a picture in Nebraska, which is, I don't know if you can see this as well in the back, but the picture on the left, I mean, you can see the split. This is a split field. It's not only short, but it's yellow, and you look over here. And so the point I'm making is we've got to continue to use these technologies to perfectly place nutrients. And you can do this. This is the same cost as fertilizer. This is the same price as synthetic placed on the root system. So it gives us an interesting place to start, but it's not enough. And so we need to continue to not only increase our fixation rate, but get partners. I'm going to play a video, but this is a pretty cool quote that we've gotten. So this is from one of the guys that invented Haber-Bosch. So this is the guy who invented synthetic fertilizer, and I'll let you read this quote, which is pretty cool because even 100 years ago he was thinking about this. Even better is from some of our customers. We've got a number of folks that have tried or used this product in the room, but we thought you would enjoy seeing this from one of our customers just south of us.
I've always said that family comes first, and then for us, farming, it's what Grandpa did, it's what my dad did. It seems like it's what you're raised to do. It's hard at times, but it's still fun. It's fun to be around the family, and we've owned the farm since the 30s, and I just want to preserve it and keep the generations going.
My dad was a farmer. Moved down here on this farm when I was 3, and I always loved to farm. I just grew up on it. I love it. It's bred into you.
My great-grandpa farmed in Nebraska. My grandpa then took over the farm from my great-grandpa, and then my dad in the 80s started taking over the farm from my grandpa.
I started farming and slowly just worked my way into it, and then, but just how things have changed. Back then, if you raised 120 bushel corn, you were great. And nowadays, you're pushing 240 to 270. It's just the modern technology is what's changed. But it all comes down to the bottom dollar at the end. Did we do it right to where we can make some money and live another year?
So it's just about trying to make enough margin. We need to produce as much as we can because we're going to have to just to survive. And just having our home farm since the 30s is wonderful, and we're building it up to make the most out of that every acre that we can. That's the end goal, is to make every acre the best it can be, to produce the most corn per acre so you can just keep the generations going.
This farm, well, it's my livelihood. It's how we get to support our families. The hope is it stays in the family generation, that it keeps dropping down from generation to generation. I worked too hard to get to here, and I want them to work hard to keep it up and grow and, make people happy.
My dad and mom worked their butts off, and we've owned the ground since the 30s that we farm. You're always trying to pass it on to the next generation. That's the end goal. And so then I will be the 4th generation farmer eventually when I take over the farm. It's just what I was born to do.
That's the best thing you could ever ask for. Knowing that it's going to drop down into good hands and be taken care of.
If I could just build the farm to be sustainable, to hand off to my nephews or my 2 daughters in the future, if any of my kids want to take it over, then they'll have a good farm that's still here. So in order to make it another generation, we need to be more efficient in every aspect. I feel like the margins are getting tighter, and so we need to be better at everything. I've always said number 1 is the soil, which would be the soil and the land that we farm. And then 2 is fertilizer, because you don't raise a crop without any fertilizer.
Pivot Bio is a wonderful thing because with them being able to produce nitrogen through the seed, through the plant, I never would have dreamt on that. I wish my dad was still alive. Like he said, growing up, the technology has changed. He started out with horses, and then now the modern technology that's with Pivot coming in and actually producing nitrogen through the plant. That's unreal.
If we can get away from the anhydrous or the liquid nitrogen and go to the natural biologicals, if we can save and help the soil and the earth and our farm ground as much as we can, that's the end goal. Is more efficiency, but also just preserving what we have. Farming for us, it's a 4th generational thing. The kids love it. They're always wanting to be in the combine and the tractor. It's just fun. It's fun to be around the family.
That's all I ever want. I want my family to be happy and have fun together. That's all I want. And my grandkids, they come up, and I just love it when everybody's around. That's what it's about, family.
I'd say it's worth it. You get to change the earth from black dirt to a field that's growing with a crop, and you can say you did that. There's just something about a farmer and owning land that it's just, you can walk on it, you can grab the dirt, and you can say, this is mine. This is my dirt, and it'll be around forever.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. Really appreciate that. Exciting stuff.